Hey there folks, Champesk here to bring you another audio commentary, and today we have a game between Grubby and TeD. We've actually had I've cast a lot of Grubby TeD games, but they tend to just be so damn good. And this game's going to be on Tyrannus Stand. Looks like we have a very fast Fiend opening here from TeD, just starting things off. And Fiends are quite good on this map, really, overall. You can do some, you can creep this out quite quickly, and you know your opponent isn't going to come creep track you immediately, because Grubby's probably going to want to creep out these creeps himself, get his level 2, and then get started. And it looks like he will be going for a standard opening as well, getting that barracks as quickly as possible, just so that he can get out that first grunt. And actually creeping out this spot is quite interesting, because what people have sort of started to do now is with their Blade Masters, they'll get critical strike first, which is something that I used to actually do a long time ago, and I figured that since no one else is doing it, there must be some reason of accidental unexpected pressure coming in or something like that, where you get pressure and you get a windwalk or something, and so I sort of stopped doing it eventually. But it looks like some people are doing it now at least, and it'll be interesting to see if that's what Grubby goes for first. And obviously, just by getting that critical strike first, it means that you don't need to use any mana, and you have a chance of doing some extra damage, and you are pretty guaranteed a level 2 off this camp, because it's unlikely that TeD is going to come flying in, especially once Grubby brings this peon up here and sees that the altar isn't going to be out for a very long time, and you're not going to be sending your first Fiend down to harass. You're going to be sending it to maybe pull these creeps, do a slight bit of damage, just quicken up your creeping once that Death Knight is out. But looks like this Blade Master is nearly out now, and Grunt coming out for Grubby as well. And on this map, actually, there's a couple interesting things we can see from TeD. He used to like to do the Fiend push at tier 2 with maybe some towers, even and a sacrificial skull, maybe just a lich, and then sometimes with statues. I mean, sometimes with not. You can make good use of destroyers on this map as well if you want to, and actually heavy air as well. Just frost storms as well are very strong, and then obviously that works really well with the Fiends, because you can get upgrades that will map them all. And it looks like we will have this camp being crept out first by Grubby, and just because that means you can pick up this nice item, and then you can move on to creeping. And he has gone for critical strike first, like I was saying. That is a really smart thing that people have started doing now. And TeD setting his first Fiend actually just to go and kill off this peon, who looks like Grubby's just gonna leave here to see if the Death Knight is coming to attack him, or is actually gonna go do some creeping. The Death Knight should be out pretty soon now, but it looks like there's a peon actually gonna die, and so Grubby maybe not expecting that, maybe should have pulled the peon a bit further back, tried and slightly delayed the Fiend, but otherwise I guess that could have sort of brought the Fiend closer to Grubby's base. And if he was worried about being creepjack, then that's certainly something he would have to be worried about. But he has now finished his creeping, getting Mantle of Intelligence, which isn't brilliant. He might sell it now or just keep it for the long game, but no, looks like he's going to keep it, and then just buy a couple salves. Obviously he hasn't used any mana yet, because he did go for that critical strike first, and TeD now going to do some creeping of his own, and going to get that level 2, which is going to be so important, because it does get you that aura very quickly. And Grubby maybe going to creep out these creeps. No, it looks like he's going to go for the creep jack. Oh, maybe he's going to try and steal the boots from TeD's TeD shop instead. That'd be a very interesting thing to do, because obviously it isn't actually that necessary once you have the aura for the Death Knight to get those boots, but it's something you certainly can do. It looks like Grubby actually going to go in here, try and find any low skeletons and just pick them off. He's slightly too late to finish off the creep jacking, unfortunately, but I'm pretty sure he would have known that timing, even though we might have thought that Fiend was slightly delayed from killing his peon. Surely he knew that it wasn't too far, and it looks like, yes, he is going to kill off did he get that second skeleton there? I'm not sure he did. And you know, he has been dusted this, so he will have to run away. Nice intuition there by TeD, actually getting that dust off. But unfortunately it was just a couple seconds too late for him to actually react to what he then saw. And it looks like we will have this tech now starting up for Grubby, and I imagine TeD started his tech up as well. Yes he has. He's even put up a Nerubian tower as well, just to prevent any sort of harassment that might come in. Speed Scroll being used now by Grubby. Very interesting choice to do that. Looks like he's very keen to get this one Fiend kill. Does get cold once, and TeD does have a whole bunch of mana left, so he will be able to do that a whole bunch of times. And Grubby is now going to try and do some damage to that Death Knight, actually getting off a couple critical strikes there. That's very nice there, just because obviously you can't heal up that Death Knight as well as anything else, and means that TeD will have to rely on maybe standing on creep for a bit longer, or just maybe he's going to have to operate with a slightly lower hit points Death Knight. And Grubby now going to be forced to run back, and he does have that clause +6, so it's going to be very useful in conjunction with that critical strike, which he also has. And you know, Grubby's does he only have one grunt? No, second one now coming in finally, and so actually it looks like Grubby got his second grunt a bit late in lieu of a bit of extra tech and a bit of extra shopping as well. He has now bought the boots as well, and looks like he's actually trying to get a block off on this fiend. Very very nice here with this Blade Master getting that block, and has his two grunts both hitting it as well. Nice control, but TeD can micro it away because he does have that aura. He's going to make that fiend much faster than those grunts, and so Grubby wisely runs his grunts away early before committing to them in a situation where they could have been very easily surrounded, especially with skeletons and fiends. Fiends are obviously really bulky, and skeletons can just basically pop out of anywhere, and they're really annoying to try and pick off, and if you lose a grunt at this stage, especially against fiends, that can be so bad. Grubby being forced to windwalk here because he realized that there was a skeleton coming in to cancel his salve, which he needs to keep his Blade Master at high health, just because there is a significant amount of focusing power from these fiends, and for Grubby to actually stay in a battle for any significant period of time, he does need to be able to, he does need to be starting with a high hit point Blade Master, and it looks like we will have this Shadow Hunter just about to pop out now. Grubby, considering that he only got that one burrow before starting his tech, really has such quick tech now. TeD now, as we can see, he hasn't even finished his tier 2, but Grubby, with that Shadow Hunter out, it does mean that Grubby did have those slightly later grunts, but considering he went for that harassment, and it's really been slowing TeD down a whole lot, that actually looks like it's worked out pretty well for him so far, and Grubby now, maybe not even going to kill the skeleton, just going to try and go and do some quick creeping with his grunts, and TeD now, he's going straight to tier 3 here, so a couple options for what we could be seeing. We could be seeing a destroyer push, though he certainly hasn't put down the slaughterhouses yet. We could be going for banshees, which are quite popular and actually work pretty well on this map as well, so maybe that's a possibility. Actually, we'll have to see what TeD's plan is here. TeD buying a third Rod of Necromancy now, and TeD just makes such fantastic use of his skeletons. It really gives him great map awareness. We can see he has a whole bunch around here. He has one going around here as well, and it's going to allow him just to paint a picture as well of where's been crept, where he can go next. So he knows that this spot's been crept, and you can guess that one of these two spots will be trapped as well, just based on having seen that army there, and assuming it doesn't come straight through to do some attacking on TeD. He'll know just where he should be going, really just doing all these small things to increase his likelihood of doing well, and actually he's bringing the skeleton back in to see absolutely that this spot has been crept. So TeD, when he does go out to creep, because obviously it's much harder for him to actually get out here, he will be able to do it much more effectively, and Grubby actually aggroing the creeps and running around in a circle. Gonna try and get a creep jack off here. TeD does have two charges on a new dust, so he will be able to chase this away. One fiend takes a lot of focus though, does get coiled and does get frost armored, and so Grubby's gonna be forced out of here. Does need to be careful about taking too much damage, as I say. Actually looks like he's gonna run in, try and get the creep jack, but TeD immediately stops focusing fire. Does grab the invuln poply now. He's down to very low health. He does manage to get away, but that means he won't be able to get the creep jack. But it's nice he managed to take that invuln pot off of TeD, because it's going to mean that TeD now is going to be in a situation where he can't get his own for a very long time without having to run down all the way to get to Grubby's shop, which is really not something he wants to be doing. And Grubby now setting up a war mill, and looks like we will be having the spell coming along now as well, and looks like we will have these illusions from TeD just doing a bit of harassment, checking out what's going on. Actually very nice play there by Grubby, ensnaring that, and you might be wondering why, and that's just so that he couldn't get the cancel on the clarity or the salve, and even though illusions can't do damage, they can cancel clarities and salve, so you do need to be careful about that, and so that's nice that Grubby did that, even if it meant revealing that he does have ensnare and actually using an ensnare on that Death Knight as well. And it looks like we will have TeD getting one of his fiends ensnared, and we can see that TeD just very very worried, having to play a lot of this game in his base, is getting 2 Temples of the Damned, so we will be seeing that classic Banshee play, which is so fun to watch in this matchup. And it looks like we will be seeing Grubby actually doing some creeping, trying to steal off TeD's creeps here, but it looks like TeD's far too aware of what's going on. Does have this illusion just at the front, making sure that Grubby can't get up to too much, and he will be able to, or Grubby will be able to move in now, and is going to probably try and focus down the fiends, or sorry, the raiders first, and lots of frost armor now going down by TeD. Very very nice, but it looks like one of these fiends does get caught in a bad position, and the ensnare really doesn't help, and so TeD has lost one fiend now, and nice Nova actually shows a couple of these, nice frost armor shows a couple of these raiders, and Grubby does need to be careful. It looks like now that these ghouls are being brought in, Grubby does need to get out of this position, because TeD just can do so much damage to those raiders with his ghouls, and ghouls you can't really ensnare as well, because there's just so many of them, especially once they have that aura as well. They just move so quickly, and they can get nice surrounds, and they can get nice blocks, and especially now with a statue as well. TeD really looking a bit menacing, so Grubby decides to run off for a bit at least. He can go heal up, he has a lot of low units because he does have that Spirit Link, and they can move back in eventually. Grubby does actually have a Kodabi cells now, and it looks like he moved in for Creepjack, but TeD did dust very, very wisely. Very, very nice play here by TeD really staying on top of things. Does have level 3 on his Death Knight as well, so that's going to be a bit more of a threat to Grubby, as well as a nice way of just healing up a bit. And it looks like TeD might actually lose one of his ghouls there, and that's a bit of a shame there for him. You do need to have a fair bit of lumber. Although I guess now that he has the Temple of the Damned going down, he doesn't need as much lumber, and we do have one Banshee now out, and that Banshee can only cast Curse, but Curse is actually a brilliant spell against the Blade Master, just to use it just on him, and you can really negate his effect greatly. And it looks like we will have a lot of focus going down on this one Grunt, and actually on the Shadowhunter as well. Shadowhunter using the Invuln Pot, nice pass there, now healing up under the protection of the Invuln Pot, but that Invuln Pot will run out very, very shortly, and TeD just doing such nice aggression here, forcing Grubby into the battle, and then just really sort of almost tricking him, and just doing this amazing play by bringing out his ghouls as well, which Grubby probably wasn't expecting, because you generally think that you want at least a couple ghouls at home, but TeD being willing to bring them so far forward and killing off one of Grubby's Kodos, very, very nice. And so now Grubby gonna have to has actually taken up a tier 3 and put up a tower, and is now getting Headhunters, maybe even the Berserker upgrade in time. That'd be very, very nice, considering that I believe Grubby has got it at what's going on, so he will know that these Banshees or the Berserker would be a very nice counter to the Banshees. Tinker being picked up here for TeD. That's the most common third tier for Undead in this situation, and Grubby gonna do a bit of creeping of his own. I'm a bit surprised he hasn't tried to creep out this camp yet, but that would certainly be that might well be next on Grubby's list, just because it's such a nice thing to do. And I think we saw War Drums. Yeah, we do have War Drums coming out for Grubby as well, and looks like Grubby is now at 49 food, so probably going to be, or I guess he could even expand in this situation, although I think it's, does he have a Tiny Great Hall? No, if he picked up a Tiny Great Hall, that could actually be a quite nice expansion to take, just because TeD, not at full fighting force yet, he does still only have Adept training on his Banshees, and no Master training even on the way, so yeah, TeD a fair ways away from actually being able to attack, because Anti-Magic Shell is not at all useful really in this situation. You do need that possession, and so if Grubby were to take an expansion right now, then that would certainly be very nice. And Ruben Madge actually being picked up here for that Shadowhunter, that's another really, really good item, and especially considering that Grubby did get that Boots of Quaff as well from TeD's camp, and so it looks like TeD will be doing some creeping of his own. 3-2-1 now on his heroes, does have a greater mana potion as well on his Lich, which is probably for the best, considering that the Lich does need to do a lot of frost armoring, especially considering how much his heroes need to do tanking, as well as Frost Nova is just so useful, and this Tinker now going to hit level 2 with that last creep, and so maybe TeD actually going to try and make a little attack here, but Grubby is still in a pretty good position at this point, and we do have Grubby doing some more creeping of his own. Does have a couple sentry wards around, so he will be able to work out if he's about to be Creepjack, and maybe be on the lookout for Shades. So certainly Shades are so unlikely to be seeing in with this army composition. So TeD, has he started his Banshee Master training yet? Yes, he finally has, but it's still a little while away, so he might want to not attack quite yet. We'll have to see. Actually, looks like he's going for it. Reinforced defense is actually finished for Grubby now, so these towers are so buffed, and it's going to be impossible to kill them, especially with these Banshees, which do like 3 damage, 4 damage to watchtowers per hit when they have that reinforced upgrade. So really nice defense here by Grubby, and actually looks like he gets 1 ensnare on this Banshee. So nice to do this, because it's just forced to stay within the range of the tower, and TeD goes for the coil, but just slightly too late because of that Blade Master, and so very bad position here now for TeD, but he's going to continue to attack, because he does have a nice position in terms of his units are nicely placed, but just overall he's really not looking in fantastic shape. Grubby does have his whole army here. He might want to try and get some sort of flank off here, but it would be easy for TeD to rearrange his army with all that speed that he does have for his army, and looks like we do have Frost Armor going off on the Tinker as well. Would be nice to see it on the Death Knight. Death Knight has actually been given the Potion of Greater Mana as well. Hex now goes off on the Death Knight so that he can't coil, while Grubby comes in and just kills off one of the Banshees. Only 2 left now for TeD. Still no possession left, but at this point really there's almost no use. I'm not sure TeD should really be staying in this battle for much longer. I think he's tried to do more damage than he really can, and he's been a bit over aggressive, and he's lost a couple of units. Unfortunately, he got one Banshee getting ensnared within range of a tower, and then Grubby coming in with that Blade Master as well has done a fair bit of damage, and so it looks like TeD hoping to get the Bestiary, but he might just about to be able to get it, but eventually Grubby's just going to be able to move in. He does still not have the Berserker upgrade, but he does have the first He does have the first attack upgrade for range units, which is actually quite interesting. But it looks like we will have Grubby now moving in, but being rebuffed here. TeD getting a couple reinforcements at just in time, and we can see Curse now on this Blade Master going to lower his DPS significantly and really unpredictably as well. And it looks like this Blade Master now going to be healed up as well, and so Grubby now going to move back in as well, kind of try and get off some focus on that Tinker, which obviously can't be healed up by the Death Knight, but can obviously be Frost Armor. It is finally Frost Armor there, and TeD unfortunately has Frost Armor on cooldown when he needs to Frost Armor the Death Knight, but Coil Nova goes off on this Blade Master. He's at low health now, and he doesn't have a healing potion or an inbound pod. He runs back. He has only 170 hit points, but it looks like the rest of Grubby's army still very, very high hit points. Going to be able to just push forward now, and TeD now taking a lot of damage on his heroes. Needs to be very careful, pulls them both back, but looks like we do have possession. Finally, a Raider being stolen here for TeD, and so he was going to be able to get his own ensnares off, which is very, very nice. Lots of Frost Armors being dispelled there by Grubby. Would have been nice to see more dispel on that earlier, actually, and it looks like one Coda Beast being microed back, and more Banshees just running straight into this battle, and so many units now left for TeD, just because he's managed to steal a couple of Grubbies. He has one Grunt and a Fiend as well, I think, so oh no, sorry, that's Grubby's Grunt. But it looks like we do have this Tinker being focused down by that ensnare, and meanwhile, Grubby being forced to use a healing potion to keep his Shadow Hunter alive. So that's very, very close play here by Grubby, but he's just managing to stay alive. He is going to have to run into the back of his base, so maybe he's going to lose one Grunt with range units. That'd be much better to take them out, because Grubby has put up a second tower just for that super base defense, and now TeD with one Raider, 3 Fiends, 2 Statues, and 2 Banshees is going to be able to is going to be able to camp outside of Grubby's base and just try and pick off buildings one by one. But as to whether or not it'll be enough, I'm not actually quite sure. TeD actually has this one Raider which will do siege damage to Grubby's beast series, but he's actually had to pull it back because of this tower. I think there might be one angle where you can maybe attack. Yes, he can attack from that angle without being hit by the towers. You just need to be wary of ensnare from Grubby getting his Raider now, and Grubby now getting one of his peons ensnared, and so he will lose that one peon which was trying to repair, and that's going to mean that Grubby doesn't have a bestiary, so he is under a bit of pressure now. He's really going to have to try and do something. I think TeD's going to have to pull back soon, and that's going to be Grubby's cue to move out and maybe either go immediately for counterattack, but I think he wants to heal off a bit first, and at that point maybe he can do some small creeping and hope to just overrun TeD with hero levels. TeD's still only 332, I think, on his Tinker, which will be back pretty soon, undoubtedly. Yeah, it's 332 for TeD compared to 4-3-4-4 for Grubby now. So really his Shadowhunter's +9 intelligence as well. So really he's in a great position to do some massive damage with heroes if he can keep them alive and keep them going. And so maybe buying a couple invuln pots, things like that, just for his heroes would be pretty useful in this situation. Finally, the Berserker upgrade for Grubby has finished, and we are seeing the bestiary being rebuilt. That's so important, because just things like Fiends to stop the Banshees from using possession is so important, and just ensnare in general is so good. And things like Kodos, I think you have to be wary about building too many of, because they can be possessed, and all of a sudden you've lost a huge part of your army. And it looks like we will have this one Raider running out front here, but it is getting hexed, but just a second too late. But that ensnare doesn't last long at all on the Spirit Walker. Grubby using a speed gold now. He doesn't want to be in this fight, but he's keeping his Blade Master and trying to take out this Raider desperately. He doesn't want TeD to have the Raiders, because they're just so strong in conjunction with an undead army, especially sort of like Coil Nova, and then you can ensnare and then just wait to get another one off. Is so powerful. And Grubby does manage to get that kill, but it does take a lot of damage on his Blade Master. He doesn't have a salve on that Blade Master either, so he's going to have to try and find a way to run it back to his army so it can be healed up. Meanwhile, TeD is going to take this opportunity to attack the Voodoo Lounge. Hopefully Grubby has some salves on his Shadowhunter. Yes, he has one salve left, so he can heal up his Blade Master and get back into this battle. TeD unfortunately rallying poorly. His Banshee gets taken down immediately, and that's just so unfortunate. And it's going to mean that TeD maybe going to be slightly under-enforced here, and it looks like he does have 6 Banshees, all with a lot of mana. Many of them actually at 400 mana by the looks of things. I think all bar one, I think, are at 400 mana. So really there's TeD's going to want to get off a lot of curses, and at that point he'd start doing the possessions once his Banshees have maybe taken a little damage or are just really low on mana, so they're much less useful. And TeD actually running one Banshee far too far forward, and ensnare goes off, but it's killed before the ensnare actually lands. And it looks like TeD actually taking this battle pretty poorly. Grubby doing some nice fighting here, really taking this battle in a fantastic position for him. One position being used, but unfortunately only steals a Berserker. I think something like a Raider could be more useful at this point, because what TeD really needs is a lot more of a meat shield than he actually has. One Fiend being really focused down, does get called and Frost Armor, but looks like it's going to go down nonetheless, and we do have a TP finally being used here by TeD, but he's just taken too much damage at this point. He's going to TP with very few units, whereas Grubby has a huge number of units left. Grubby probably at what, like 55 food compared to TeD's 46 food, so really TeD, even though he has tier 3 units versus tier 2 units, mostly tier 2 units, this Kodo Beast is sort of tier 3 in terms of it has its range upgrade. I think TeD is just so a bit behind now, because Grubby's close to 5-5 at this point actually, and a 5-5 versus Banshees is such a threat, just because obviously things like Healing Wave can massively out-heal any sort of damage that Banshees can do, and then things like Blade Master having a whole bunch of mana and huge critical strikes, meaning you can take out Banshees so quickly when they are trying to do things like possession, because they're just so vulnerable, so easy to take out with something like a Blade Master, which can just wind walk straight into position. And actually that's another reason why stealing Raiders might be pretty useful in this situation. Grubby, interestingly though, looks like he's mainly building Berserkers at this point. I'm not sure if he actually uses Bestiary at all. He's finally rebuilding Raiders now, but he has so many Berserkers which could do amazing damage versus those Banshees, but just a terrible thing to try and steal as well. So nice play here by Grubby. I think that's a good choice in this situation, and against this really tricky army composition from TeD, and Grubby trying to get that level 5 on his Blade Master. I'm not sure how many creeps are actually left on this map now to be crapped out. I think this camp's left. Yeah, this camp's left. Maybe Grubby can get his level 5 here. He needs to be wary of being slowed though, and he's going to go straight for that. Geomancer does get the kill, and he's not going to get level 5 on this camp unfortunately. And we do have TeD now moving in for a bit of an attack here. He's going to want to keep his heroes out front this time, and actually this Berserker probably out front as well as these couple ghouls. I assume he's a whole bunch of lumber now, so he doesn't really need it. Yeah, he has 750 lumber in the bank and 1 ghoul left at home, and level 4 now on this Death Knight. He has got Unholy Aura level 2, so no Death Pact, which I think Death Pact could actually be quite useful in this situation. He's going to want to take a fight in a choke point. Grubby long distance fighting, going to lose a whole bunch of peons right here. TeD actually using a Nova to try and kill as many as possible. I'm not sure that's the best choice, considering there's going to be a battle soon, and now TeD really only has 60 mana left now that he's Frost Armored his Lich, and he might want to transfer that Greater Mana Potion. No, he's used it. Oh, that's odd. I thought he had it when he TP'd out. And maybe he sold it, I'm not sure. So it looks like we will have TeD engaging here, not the best position. He would have liked to engage in more of a choke point, but he's just being so outgunned here. And the longer he waits, the worse it's going to get. And Grubby now coming in, going to get level 5 on his Blade Master very soon, and level 5 on his Shadowhunter. Going to want to wait for that before he gets any sort of Healing Wave off, and TeD now immediately stealing a whole bunch of units. Look how many units TeD's stealing here. Does get this Kodo Beast, which is so nice. It's good to give a whole bunch of extra damage to his whole army, and stealing a whole bunch of Berserkers as well. And it looks like we will have this Shadowhunter being inserted and focused down. Coil Nova goes off, and looks like this Shadowhunter could be in a lot of trouble, but with that level 3 Healing Wave, that's just so powerful. And a couple Raiders now being focused down by TeD, who really is a whole nice combination of army here, and looks like one Dispel goes off to just get rid of those Frost Armors, which are so annoying. Grubby runs in with his Blade Master in Windwalk form and going to try and take down this Kodo Beast. Obviously 2 Berserkers who can go down pretty quickly, especially Berserkers with that first attack upgrade as well, and it looks like we will be having Grubby being pushed a bit further back here, but every time he pushes out, he just manages to pick off something. He picks off the Tinker there as well, and there's the GG from TeD. He just knew he didn't have the army to fight those heroes. Really nice play there by Grubby. He was under so much pressure for all that game, but he managed to stick in his base and then just make these sort of tactical strikes out just to pick off a couple units, picking off that Kodo and then that Tinker in that last battle. Really nice play. I hope you enjoyed that game, folks. I'll try and bring you some more games in the near future. Thanks.